Okay, welcome. Today we're going to go over how to assess problems with knees. We're going to just assume that it's the most common ones, which are usually ITB friction problems and patella tracking problems. Other knee-related injuries become a factor, but these are probably the main ones that we come across all the time. So there's 5 steps which you really need to go through in the correct order to find out what's going on and have the correct plan to not fix it, but really get on top of it and eliminate it as a problem for you, whatever your workouts may be. So first thing we want to do is assess Darren's flexibility. If there's any issues there, and we can sort of try and find out information. So Darren's going to roll over the outside of his leg. We're going to try and find out if the muscle on the outside, the ITB, is causing too much friction and giving him pain in the outside of his knee there. Usually the muscle's trying to pull the patella out of alignment. So we're going to roll over this. I'm going to ask him if there's any pain compared to the other leg. We already know with Darren that his left leg, which is one he's on now, is his sore one. All right, so he's already rolling over it. He's going to find the spot where it's tight. He's going to leave the roller on there for about 15 to 20 seconds, which will try and loosen that fascia up. Right, so that'll be first step 1. So we already know one thing we need to do with him based on the test of the foam roller. The next step we want to do is work out if there's a flexibility problem through the knee. So we're going to get Darren to remove the foam roller, and what we need to do, actually get him to lie down first. We're going to do a basic flexibility test. This being his good leg, we're going to see how good his quads can stretch, and we'll ask him, how's that feel? Feel good, so we can sort of know, okay, that's okay. I'm going to keep taking him until he says that's about it.
That's good.
Alright, so we can I know that he's got pretty good range through because I'm having to lift his leg up off the ground. So I want to go to the sore one now. And we're going to assess where he is with this one. Just gently taking it through, and we'll wait till he tells me it's enough. And that's about it. Alright, so I can use a little instrument like this to find out the exact range of degrees that Darren's flexibility is at. And he's pretty much sitting on around about 132 degrees. So we're really, if that's his joint there, we really want to see about 180 degrees. The other leg actually had about that much degrees, which was about 200 degrees. Alright, so there's a big 60 degrees difference from right leg to left leg. So we need to have a stretching program for Darren to get that flexibility back in his leg. So the easiest way for him to do that on his own, because he can't do that stretch on his own, is he's going to put his right foot in front of him. So he's going to lunge down, put his hands on the ground like that, get his foot up on the ball like so, and then very gently he's going to try and sit up straight. Now, if his heel was touching his butt, we know we'd have pretty good flexibility, but we know at the moment it's not quite there, so that's quite normal for him. Right? So we've already got 2 steps for Darren's rehab program in place. We've got to loosen up the fascia with the foam roller. I'm going to use the stretch for the quadriceps with the fitball. So then after we've got this sort of in place, then we need to work on the stability. So we're going to work with, I'm going to show you how to do that with Rozzy. So first thing we're going to do with Rozzy, and Rozzy actually has a real knee injury as well. So this is perfect for her. We're going to use some stuff called kinesio tape, but you can use any tape for this. This just looks nice, the nice colours, but it is quite user friendly as well. I've already cut off a strip, which I'll put in the tape on. Alright, so what I want to do, I want to pull the tape in, alright, so I want to be pulling in like that, because most people pull it the wrong way. These muscles are already tight, pulling her patella that way. I want to sort of help this muscle here, which is the VMO muscle. I want to help this one to get it in the right spot, pull the patella back. So the way I do it is I put the tape across her knee like so. I drag it across, and you'll know when you're doing it right, because you see these little skin folds on the skin there on the kneecap. And when I pull it across and nice and tight, like so. So now before we start to do any stability or strength exercises, I'm encouraging this muscle to already work from just the tape on its own. All right, very, very effective for doing this. So now we're going to move into a stability exercise, which Darren's already set himself up with. So in a 4-point position, it's a lot better to work with when you're first starting out because there's less stress on the joints. Alright, so Darren's going to move. We know his left leg is the one that's the problem, so we're going to leave it on the BOSU here. And this is the leg that's going to extend off. And what he's trying to do is come in and out with his hands and leg without losing balance and go straight up. So the hip here is becoming the stabiliser. And we're teaching it to do it, but it's a perfect job because the glute works in conjunction with this VMO. Alright? So this is an excellent exercise Darren can start with. That'll help him to get things under control. Then we can move into step 2 of this, where we'll get him to stand on one leg, close his eyes, and he should be able to comfortably get about 20 seconds without falling over. So far he's doing all right. And then we could test the other leg to see the difference. So let's say it's 20. And you can see here, if there was a massive discrepancy, usually you would see someone fall over early on. Because he doesn't, that's not a bad thing, so we can rule that out. And or if it was a problem, you continue using that as an exercise. You can also move into like a balance exercise where we're testing him on a balance board. Just seeing what his squat is like. Usually if they're favouring one leg, they'll keep falling off away from the leg that they can't balance. They'll keep falling on, trying to get off that leg. This sort of things try to correct that imbalance. Right, so everything here is stability focused, not to do with strength. Now once we move from stability, now we're going to move into strength, so we're going to move over to where Rosie is, and she's going to lie on the floor here, on her side. And we're going to use this little band here. These bands are perfect, really good for this sort of an exercise and all these VMO. We're going to put the band around her leg. Like so. And all she's going to do is she's going to rest her head in her hands like that. And all she's going to do is open her legs up like this. And she's going to put her hand on her butt here and feel that this glute muscle is kicking in. Important on this one that you don't sort of fall back on it. When you fall back on it, you tend to use the muscle that Darren had the problem with on the foam roller. So it's always better to be sort of leaned over a little bit more. And then the glute muscle is going to work a lot harder. Alright, so this will be isolating a glute muscle on its own. Doesn't look like a normal movement that you'd need in life, but it's picking on the weakness of the muscle that we know that is currently there. Alright, so we're going to pick on that one on its own, and we're going to pick on the quad muscle on its own. So we're going to take that off. And we're going to use, which leg are we going to use? So we're going to put this little blood pressure unit under her knee here. We're going to pump this up. You can get these little blood pressure units for maybe about $60 off the internet. Very, very useful for working on things like this. Alright, so we're going to pump this unit up to about 40 when she's relaxed. And when I tell her to go, I want her to put pressure on the cuff and get the needle up to about 60, 70, close to the red line. And she's doing a good job. Alright, and we want her to hold that for about 10 seconds. She should be able to do that like at least 6 to 7 times. But even more important than that, we want to check the other side, because if the other side can have a maximum push and it goes to 100, then we know there's a massive difference in the two legs. So we'll quickly check the other side. This being the stronger leg. So just relax for a minute. There you go. Right, now she's going to get her to push as hard as she can. And you can see that straight away goes higher than the other leg. Alright, so there's an example of another muscular imbalance that we need to work on. The next part that we'd want to work with, we've done a glute exercise that's isolated, we've done a VMO quad exercise that's isolated. The other key component is the calves. So we'll get Rosie to stand on a step, one leg hanging over the edge. And she's going to do a basic calf raise. And what ideally should happen is she should be able to make 30 repetitions in a row. Alright, if she can't make 30 repetitions in a row, then we know that that calf complex is weak, and there's a chance that there's going to be injury with the ankle or the knee or both. Alright, so we're isolating the calf just on its own, and it's preparing her for a jumping movement, which is the movements that usually stuff the knee right up. Alright, so that'll be all our isolated exercises. Once we've sort of ticked them off, we're going to move into the integrated exercises, which Darren's going to show us now. Darren's going to show you first is the worst one, being the lunge. And basically, with him having this band on him, he's forcing this VMO into action to keep the leg in alignment, just like what Roz's take was doing it to her, but now we're actually doing it in a movement. So Darren's going to lunge up and down, trying to keep the perfect alignment, and you'll see he's got good muscle definition. You can see the VMO working quite well, and the glute is really kicking in. So these two guys are doing an awesome job. So this is how you can teach yourself to do a lunge without having any problems with it. So technique-wise, it's really going to make a huge difference. Now the other move we want to do is the squat, and we'll use Rosie for this one. She's going to place the hand around her feet again, up around her knees. And she's going to do a basic squat, and she's going to hold it at the bottom. Just where she can go, because we know she really has got knee pain here. So I'm going to hold it for about 5 seconds, and then she's going to come back up. So sort of in an integrated movement, but we're isolating the quads, the VMO and the glute in a different movement to the lunge. The ramp just forces more work into the quad. So we know that that's where the weakness is, because we just tested it with the blood pressure cuff. Alright, so we know that that's where it is, so we're trying to highlight it and really work on it in its movement that you're going to need. Alright, so then we could also add dumbbells to this, or a barbell on top of her back, if her strength gains were enough that it warranted to do that. Alright, but first you start off with the slow tempos, holding it, build the strength up in there in that isometric stage, then move on into the next one. Now we're going to show you how we integrate it into an arm exercise. And Darren's going to set up for a basic cable push exercise. And we're going to use the cable, even though this is an arm exercise, we're going to try and force the VMO into work. Alright, so Darren's going to step out, he's going to put his leg in the strap. I'm going to be trying to force the VMO to kick in while he's doing the arm exercise, which is really a bench press standing up with the cable. Alright, so now we're really moving heavily into the movement that he needs to be strong for. This guy is on automatic pilot because this works harder than that work. The brain can't do two things at once. Alright, so this is a really excellent exercise to help you get it right. Basically that'll give you 5 steps. So you've sort of gone from assessing it, to working on taping it, to working on your isolated strength, to your integrated strength, and then you're trying to put them all together, and then job's done. Alright, so you're just going to have to keep working through it slowly, don't rush things. If your problems with flexibility, stay at that stage until you address it. Don't move to the next one too soon, or else otherwise it will just do more harm than good. So I hope that helps you, and any questions, give us a call.